some more.
Yo, what's good, people? Izzy Max here, back again with another typing tier list. Today's type is going to be fighting. Before I get started, I will not be ranking megas or unreleased Pokemon because the new Zapdos is on this list, but I will not be ranking it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Leading off with Primeape, it's never really too terribly good in VGC. It does get Defiant now, so it does at least have a niche, but I am just going to probably put this in the C tier. With its niche, you could at least use it, kind of. Next up is the Hitmons. They're just bad. They don't really do anything that the other fighting types can't do. Hopefully my camera focuses back in. But these guys aren't anything special. They're not terribly fast. They're not incredibly bulky. You can just use other things. Next up is Poliwrath. I will put it in the C tier. With its Swift Swim ability, like I said, with Primeape, it still does have a niche, but it's not all that good. There are better range sweepers, Barraskewda, Mantine even, and it's just kind of outshined. Next up is Machamp. Machamp is probably also going to be a C tier Pokemon. All Gen 1 Mons, nothing above tier C. But Machamp really doesn't do anything special. It can run Guts, it could run Assault Vest, but Pokemon like Conkeldurr just do its job better. And whenever they're both legal in the same metagame, Conkeldurr always outshines it. Next up is Heracross. I'm actually going to put Heracross in the B tier. I think it can be really good. It does have the Moxie ability, and in the Dynamax meta, I feel like if built around correctly, could really kind of just start to go off. So with that being said, it is going to be in the B tier. Next up is Hitmontop. Hitmontop's probably going to go in the A tier. This mon is always good when it's available. Super bulky and with the ability to intimidate the opponents, and also have good utility moves like Wide Guard and Feint, Bullet Punch, Fake Out. It just gets a lot of good moves that can really benefit your team. Next up is Blaziken. I'm probably going to put this in the B tier as well. If Speed Boost is allowed, it can be decent, but Blaziken lacks in kind of offensive prowess, and you kind of have to set up with a Swords Dance or something to really get it going, so it requires a lot of help. Next up is Breloom. I'm probably going to put Breloom in the B tier as well. Technician Mach Punch is nothing to joke about, and it does get Spore as well, which is one of the best status moves in the game. So nothing to sleep on, pun intended, with Breloom here. Medicham, I'm probably going to put in the C tier. It requires a lot of work. It does hit incredibly hard with huge power, but its speed stat and its bulk is almost non-existent. Everything that's going to be hitting it is going to be hitting it faster than it will. So overall, just not very good. Hariyama, surprisingly, I'm going to put in the B tier. This can be your Trick Room sweeper. It is also incredibly bulky with Guts or Sheer Force. Don't know why you would want to run Sheer Force, because I think Guts is honestly better, because you do get the boost in like Bullet Punch and stuff. But nonetheless, Hariyama, decently good. Infernape, I don't really know how Infernape would do in VGC. I feel like in the Dynamax meta, it might be really, really good. But it is fast, it hits really hard, huge move pull. And yeah, Gallade is up next. I love Gallade. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It can be ran physical, or it could be ran offensive or defensive, like I'm doing in my 2 separate leagues. I ran it offensive in VGC, was able to set up with beat ups and some speed control if I needed it. And then in my Armament League, I'm able to run it defensive with support moves like Wide Guard, Quick Guard, Ally Switch, and stuff like that. Next is Lucario. These aren't in order like this, but I'm going to put Lucario up here in the A tier. It kind of does what Gallade does offensively, but better with the justified ability And I do believe it's a little more bulky all around. And the Steel type is just a good typing, probably better than the Psychic type on Gallade. Next up is Emboar. I don't like this mon. I don't see a use in it. Next is Scraggy. Or Scraggy. Not Scraggy. Is it Scraggy? Yeah, sure. Yeah, because Scrappy. It's one of the two. Anyway, this mon is very bulky. Has Intimidate as well as Hitmontop. By the end of this, Hitmontop might move up to an S tier. I'm just going to put it on top. Anyway, this kind of does what Hitmontop does. It's just less bulky. It is quad weak to Fairy, which is not very good. But you can run like a Dragon Dance set and actually run it offensive instead of supportive. But it's just going to be an Intimidator. Super slow, so you can set it up in Trick Room as well. Mienfoo, I don't really know what it does. I know it's legal now in 2020, but yeah, I have no idea. Sock and Throw. I'm going to put Ernie up here, but Bird's going to go down here. Probably the same with these. Yeah, let's do that. Conkeldurr. I think Conkeldurr might be S tier. Especially now. I know it's kind of fallen off in VGC 2020 because of Expanding Force. But before that, it was on almost every team. It is so good with huge hitting guts, Mach Punches, and being able to hold the Assault Vest and Dynamax, making it extremely bulky and kind of hard to take down. Croagunk. I'll put in C only because I know Croagunk has won a world championship, but it hits decently hard and it is used as kind of a water immunity, but other than that, it doesn't really do anything. Cobalion, surprisingly, is the best of the three Swords of Justice right now in 2020. Usually holds the Assault Vest, gets beat up, and then it also has access to Bounce to boost its speed, Steel Spike to boost its defenses, and yeah, just an overall good mon. Virizion, C tier, Terrakion, A tier. I'm not going to talk too much about these guys because they all pretty much do the same thing that Cobalion does, just not as good. This one is able to set the sand. So it does boost its special defense, but if you're not running a team around it, it really doesn't want to set the sand because usually your beat up user is holding the Focus Sash. And then Virizion just sets the grassy terrain, and I don't think you want that. Next up we have Chestnut. I'm going to say it's a C tier mon, but I've never used it or seen it be used. Hawlucha's probably A tier, depending. It likes to have terrain up, like Coco Lucha was really, really good. But right now it's Coco Pincurchin, no one wants to do that. Or Pincurchin Hawlucha, no one wants to do that. But it is being ran with like weakness policies and stuff like that, and it can see some success. It's just kind of hit or miss. Pangoro, never really seen used. Passimian is weird. I'm gonna put Passimian in the B tier. It's kind of a niche pick because you have to set up around it. So if you're using it as your main sweeper, there's been a team going around with Misty Explosion, Huge Power Azumarill. With Receiver Passimian, it passes it over. Passimian now has huge power. Also, otherwise, it does get Defiant, and it can be there holding the Assault Vest. Crabominable, probably bad. Beware, I'm going to put in the D tier. I think it was good at one point in 2020, but it kind of fell off. I mean, we have now really good fire types in Charizard, Torkoal, also with just a lot of fire coverage. And then we do have like Conkeldurr, the sword, so it just kind of falls out. The next C tier mon, I'm going to have to scroll up here, is going to be Kommo-o. It's never really good. It lost its signature Z move, so it's not really going to do much of anything else. Buzzwole, I think, might be B tier when it comes back. Same with what's its face here. I'm going to zoom out so you guys can see it a little better. Buzzwole and Pheromosa. Pheromosa is super brittle. Like, I'm not even going to say frail. I'm going to say brittle. It is a glass cannon fitting the definition perfectly. And then Buzzwole's just really slow. And I don't know with all the like max airstreams and stuff how good these guys are actually going to be in the meta. So I'm going to hedge my bets and put them in the B tier. Joining them in B tier is going to be Sirfetch'd. I really like this mon. It can be ran in Trick Room or out of Trick Room as your main Dynamaxer, setting up the airstreams to get speed boost, and then always critting with things, if it's holding the leak, always critting with Leaf Blade, and virtually always critting with everything else. Failings, just going to go in the C tier. I'm not going to talk too much about it. It does get Defiant, but it is very slow, not so bulky, and if you use No Retreat, you're kind of stuck, so people can work around it. I want to put this guy... What is your name? Octolock? That's your move. Grapplock, there it is. I don't know. Sure. D tier. You're not good, but I guess you can be used in like Trick Room and stuff. Okay, Single Strike. I'm actually just going to put both of these in the A tier because they're not being used too well. Their HP isn't very high and their special defense is super low. So they like auto lose to speed boosted Togekiss. Also they lose to Cinderace. They just lose to a lot of things in the meta right now. And they're just not seeing as much play as I thought they would. I was almost for sure that these were going to be S tiers when they came out and said that they were going to be VGC legal, but they're not. So that's where they're going to go. And then next up, he's not legal yet, but we at least know his like stats and moves, unlike Zapdos, and the things aren't used in VGC like Keldeo, Marshadow, and Meloetta. Those are not used in VGC, so I don't really know. Kubfu, it's a pre-evolution. Galarian Zapdos isn't even out yet. We don't know anything about it. And then the two Megas. So talking up last is going to be Zamazenta. I do think it's going to be good. It is super bulky. Steel typing is always good to have. I think it is our only steel and fighting type. No, we do have Lucario. Oh, duh. We have Lucario and we have Cobalion. Ignore what I just said. But it does get the defense boost as it switches in. Its brother in Zacian, I think, is going to be S+ tier. That thing's going to be nuts. Steel Fairy is great, but Steel Fighting isn't bad. It does hit really, really hard. And in the Dynamax meta, it does get a move that pretty much destroys a lot of the Dynamax Pokemon in the meta right now. So I'm going to put it in the S tier. And this is going to be my tier list for the fighting types. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like. We are almost at 100. We might be there by the time this goes up. I have no idea. Also, leave in the comment section down below what you agree or disagree with on my tier selection. I do think I could switch a couple, mostly the B and C tier mons. Some of them might be a little too high or a little too low. But nevertheless, leave that in the comment section down below. I'd be happy to discuss it with you. And without further ado, I will see you in the next one. Peace.